So good afternoon. It's my very great pleasure to be here this afternoon to talk to you about a number of things that we have going on in New Mexico, which are relevant to the thought of bringing together the tribes, reunification with the rest of the country, and the sports programs that we have going forward. Now, I'm a scientist. I'm a nuclear physicist by training, although I've been involved in a lot more clean energy things and so on. And so I'm not going to be focusing that much on the sports side of things. I will only say my only real connection with sports is that I am a 4th degree black belt from the World Taekwondo Association. So I have competed across the country, although I've never come in higher than the second inning in the tournaments. But, you know, so I understand the value of that. But there's also a value in technology in moving these efforts forward. So what I want to tell you about is what we've been doing in New Mexico over the last several years. And this was really started when I served as Governor Richardson's Science Advisor from 2006 to 2010. I was on assignment from Los Alamos National Laboratory to his office to move some things forward. So, you know, New Mexico is called the land of enchantment. And if you spend any time here at all, you'll understand why there's real meaning to that. The other thing that's very interesting about New Mexico is we have a very interesting mix of cultures here. We have a very interesting mix of the old and the new. So in the background here, you see this is a picture of Frijoles Canyon, which is the site of Bandelier National Monument. This is a site that's very dear to my heart. I serve as a volunteer there. I give tours at Bandelier. And this is a very special site. Even the Native Americans here, who are descended from the people who lived here, feel that. When Adolphe Bandelier came here in 1880, looking at different sites around the country, the Indians in Cochiti Pueblo told him, oh, you would be interested then to see where our ancestors came from. And their ancestors moved from this site to their current site 350 years earlier. So they remembered their ancestral home. And if you talk to them, what they'll say is, this place remembers us. And this place does have a very special spirit to it. So it's New Mexico is the ancestral home to Pueblo, Navajo, Apache, and Mescalero Apache Native Americans. We're ranked actually 3rd nationally in terms of percentage of Native Americans. 11% of our population is Native American, about 220,000 of them. And it's a very old place. Santa Fe is the oldest state capital in the country, founded in 1610. But it's very common to find the old and the new side by side. So here you see Frijoles Canyon, home of Bandelier National Monument. You walk across the street and you're on the property of Los Alamos National Laboratory. So the old and the new are merged together there. It's also a land of investments. We have a very large number of scientists here working on questions of national security, which span all the way from spreads of AIDS virus to clean energy to telecommunications, cybersecurity, a wide range of things. And so we get a lot of federal funding here, and we have a lot of high-tech companies here. So there's a lot of investment in the state. When I was in the governor's office, I worked with about 150 technology leaders around the state to look at what are our areas of strength and what areas could we grow. And so we came up with energy, environment, and water. And this is really a single thing because you can't separate the 3 of these from each other. Bioscience and health, aerospace, and then spreading across all of these, information technology and nanotechnology. So I want to give you just a very brief overview of some of the things that we've done here in the state that are really important in these sectors. So in aerospace, we have built Spaceport America. This is the first commercial aerospace spaceport in the United States. In the next year, we will be starting to launch visitors into space. So for a mere $250,000, you can go up, visit space. But this was built with the vision that we can launch a lot of things into space here. Satellites, which are very important to global monitoring for climate change, environment, and so on. And this was at the dedication a little over a year ago. Beautiful facility. And here you see White Knight 2, which is the launch craft. So the way this works is that the spacecraft, which is here in the center, is lifted up to about 40,000 feet. It's then dropped, the rocket ignition engines ignite, and it goes up into space. And you're up into space and free floating for about 6 minutes or so. Then it comes around, you get to see the entire, Earth, the roundness of the Earth. Comes back and lands at the spaceport, which is in southern New Mexico. Just as important, I think, are the people who had the real vision to start moving this forward in about 2007, Governor Bill Richardson and Sir Richard Branson. A lot of other things going on in aerospace, but I'd like to move ahead to bioscience and biotechnology. This is an area I think is particularly important to the future of the country and the world. So we have a lot of strengths in bioscience. Some of them are shown here, and I'm not going to go into great detail on them. I'll talk a little bit more about a particular application, but there's a lot of efforts underway now to commercialize the technologies that are being developed coming out of this research and development. And I think we have a great opportunity to grow the biotech sector here in New Mexico. One thing that I worked with while I was in the governor's office was the National Center for Genome Resources. It's located in Santa Fe, New Mexico. They are looking at how do you sequence the human gene and doing it in a commercial way. Right now it costs you about $10,000 to have your gene sequenced. The next few years it's going to be down to $1,000. Then it's going to get down into the few hundred. So now we can start mapping out the genes of everybody on Earth, and we can start telling you're predetermined, predilected to have certain types of diseases, you have certain susceptibilities, your chemistry, body chemistry should be turned certain ways. So personalized medicine revolves around this because each and every person is different. You need a different mix of vitamins, of food, treatments. And one of the things they're working with is to understand the origin of tuberculosis. How much of this is genetic, how much of it is environmental? Because if you look at the Native Americans, especially the Navajos in New Mexico, they have about 3 times the incidence of tuberculosis as the Anglos or Hispanics do in the rest of the state. So we're trying to understand what that basis is and how you would treat it. This is something which is very dear to my heart. And I'll have to explain this a little bit. So one of the things we started under Governor Richardson was we built a state supercomputing center. We bought a computer called Encanto, which means enchantment in Spanish. And this was the 3rd fastest computer in the world when we bought it. One of the things that we did on this was to simulate the human ribosome, which is shown here, going into viral RNA coupling into this. And why this is important is the way diseases are spread, viruses are spread, is they get into your cells, they start producing proteins, chemicals which are very damaging to the cell. We're trying to understand how do they actually get in, and how do you make designer drugs that would prevent a virus from spreading. Since you can't build antibiotics now, this is effectively a way to build an antibiotic. So what we did, we simulated on the computer the human ribosome. There are 2 million atoms in this. This was one of the largest calculations ever done in the world. And what you'll see is how the viral RNA coming in, this is the messenger RNA that tells the ribosome what to produce. You'll see how it moves into the cell. Here you see it twisting around, going in. You blow up. This is the region of interest here. And when you get down to here, you see there's a very small channel that it has to go through. So we can now design drugs which attach just to this part here, prevent it from getting into the ribosome so that you're never producing all of the toxins that cause the problems with health. So this is really going to designer medicine at a very basic fundamental level. I think tremendous commercial applications of this as we move it forward. The other area we've been involved in to a great extent is renewable energy. We offer attractive incentives, low business costs. We have a tremendous amount of natural resources here in R&D. And this is also important for the Native Americans here because this is a map of the lands that the Native American tribes here hold. This is the Navajo Nation. The Pueblos are down in here. The Mescaleros are out in here. And a lot of this land is prime territory to put either wind power or solar energy. So we've been working with them, looking at what the opportunities are here. And if you've ever tried to do clean energy, you'll understand that finding the right land in the right place is one of the great challenges of this. Even if you find land in the right place, trying to get power from one place to another is just an unbelievable hurdle. So by working with the native tribes, we hope that we can accelerate our growth of clean energy here. One of the things that we did was take advantage of the solar energy. So I chair the New Mexico Green Grid Initiative. This is a partnership we put together with Japan. Myself, with the Secretary of Economic Development, went over to Japan in 2007, signed an agreement on joint economic development with the government of Japan. We did this because the Minister of Economy of Japan was a personal friend of Bill Richardson. We're the only state that has such an agreement in place. The Japanese government has said, you'll be the one and only, because they weren't totally thrilled with him doing this. But as a result of this, we built some projects here, demonstration projects, getting the Japanese involved here. They put $57 million into 2 projects, one just up the hill here at Los Alamos. I'm very proud of that one because I'm the one who suggested to the Japanese that this green grid site was an appropriate place to put it. They put in 1 million watts of solar energy here.